that is or where he's been elected from, that is where he usually holds or she holds her surgery, which is why Parliament does not sit after Thursday. So usually Parliament sits Monday to Thursday. So MPs can go back to their constituencies and serve their people. So from Friday through Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. Now, anyone who wants to talk or ask a question about MPs, wants to speak to Nana Asante to ask her something, or even to just, give her good vibes. The studio line is 0203-735-8820 or 0203-286-0185. So please call in and ask your questions. If you are in the UK especially, and you need to know what your MP can do for you, any question at all, because look, I am going to ask questions, but I may not ask a question pertaining to yourself. Therefore, today is the day to start to do these things. Every month, we're going to have Nana Asante, and she's going to come and tell us what our MPs are going to be doing for us, or supposed to do for us. Now, you could be in this country. You could abide by the laws. You could be uncomfortable about certain situations, but you may never, ever want to speak to your MP. Is that a good thing?
Normally, I would say no. Your MP is elected by you, or at least you should be voting.
Yes.
And you should vote for the person you believe shares your values. So the idea is that the MP is there to represent you. So if there's something you're not happy about, it's no use being at home complaining about it. It's important to pick up the phone or get online and talk to your MP. But unfortunately, we found out through a Freedom of Information that David Lammy MP put in that some MPs have been behaving in a way that I do not think is ethical. From what we understand from the Freedom of Information, which came out last month, some MPs, when constituents have been to them with problems about immigration, have taken it upon themselves to call the immigration hotline. And I think that is outrageous.
What happens when you call the immigration hotline?
Well, people get picked up. And I think that is outrageous because surgery should be a place of safety. I've always advocated that people should contact their elected representatives, because a surgery should be a place where you can go and speak your business. If you got a problem with your immigration status and you're in the middle of handling it with the Home Office, and especially because they cut legal aid, you have no access to legal aid, and you haven't got the funds to pay for a lawyer, your MP is somebody you should be able to approach. And to be honest, an MP should be able to write letters on your behalf. That's what an MP does. Make representations on your behalf to the Home Office or whoever. So I think it's outrageous for an MP to take that confidential information that you're giving them and then to ring the immigration hotline.
This is shocking.
It is shocking.
When I was younger, MPs are the people who would protect immigrants or people who are being deported. The MP would be there, take them into a safe church or something. And now there's nothing, you never hear of anything like that. Families are being deported and you don't even know how people know where they live, etc.
But to be fair, a lot of MPs are like old school MPs.
Yeah.
They do defend their constituents. They do go out and bat for them. So I do know that a lot of MPs are doing the right thing, which is why we elect them. I think there's a psychological contract we all have with our elected representatives. We know they're there for us. They're supposed to be serving us. And in fact, that is why there's I think online, you have They Work For You. It's a page that somebody has set up so that people who don't know who the MP is can put in their postcode and reach the MP, send an email through that site. Because actually they do work for you. They're there to be public servants. So it is, in my view, outrageous that some MPs think they're doing the right thing by, in a sense, betraying their constituents. I think it is not acceptable. And I think a lot of people also believe it's not acceptable. In fact, there are two charities. One is Global Justice Now, and the other, I think, is the Migrants Resource Center, came together to put representations to the Speaker of Parliament. to complain about this outrageous news we heard. And some MPs defend what they did, saying that they are there to uphold the law. But then there are two things. I mean, we all have to balance priorities. Yes, you are elected as a member of parliament to defend the laws of the land, but you're also there to challenge the laws of the land when they are not being applied correctly. And from what we heard about the Windrush scandal, and trust me, it's been going on for years. It's just that it came to the fore with this recent Windrush and Commonwealth scandal. That decisions were being taken in a way that didn't fit in with the law. And people were being badly treated. Well, if MPs had been doing their job, and some have, but those who were so happy to pick up the phone and report their constituents.
The immigrants,
if they had been doing their job properly, they would have been challenging some of these decisions. Decisions that were incompatible with the rule of law. So that is what an MP shouldn't be there not to serve their constituents. But when you talk to some MPs, their defense has been is that they have been upholding the law. And I came across a quote which I think is interesting. It's a guy called Howard Zinn. He said the problem in the world has not been civil obedience. It's been the fact that there hasn't been enough civil disobedience. And to explain it, if people go on just implementing laws without using their own conscience, then you let things happen like the Holocaust, which shouldn't have happened. No. Most people forget that Hitler sent all his laws through Parliament. So that law to pick up people was legal. It was legal. But people of conscience still broke the law and hit people. Because they looked at it that this cannot be right. In the same thing, I think we expect better of our MPs. We expect them to examine what is happening to a constituent. When a constituent comes to you, you hear the personal stories, not the headlines, an actual story of what somebody is going through. And we expect you to use common sense, to use human compassion, look at what the person is going through and make representations on their behalf. Even if you make representations, they might still lose their case. But I don't think it's a place of an MP to facilitate somebody's deportation. I think that is completely wrong.
And I agree with you. And I'm stunned. I'm stunned because I would think that an MP who is it because they feel that if you're an immigrant, you cannot vote and therefore your vote is null and void and therefore they can treat you as they will?
But it's interesting that the definition of a constituent is somebody who lives in your electoral area. It is also, because I noticed that they don't say voters. They say constituents. Because, for example, children are your constituents. They don't have a vote. But you're supposed to also defend their interests. So while some immigrants might not have votes, a lot of immigrants, especially Commonwealth citizens, have it of right. If you're here legally, you do have a vote. And the whole Commonwealth and Windrush scandal came about because people who were settled, who had rights to live, work, vote, were suddenly being told they were here illegally. That is an outrage, which is why suddenly we had everybody saying this cannot be right. And suddenly now we're talking about compensation because people have lost jobs, people have been deported, people have lost right to promotion, people have lost homes, people have become, it's been quite a bad, experience for a number of citizens.
Yeah, they've been taken, they have no homes. Some of them are second generation, they've never been. They felt that this was their country. So they'd never been to Jamaica or all the places that they were dropped on. And these are big, people, the thing about life though is, whatever you say, you've treated people so badly and then you say sorry. But in the middle of all that, people have died. People are hurt. People are disappointed. People are heartbroken.
Indeed, you're 100% right. And that is why at the moment, and I can't stress this enough, there's a consultation about the compensation scheme. It's been extended. It closes on the 16th of November. So I'll urge people, if you haven't yet...
Of November what, 2019?
2018.
Oh, this is so tight.
But this has been extended once already. Exactly.
But the thing is, you
So
see,
we need people to fill in that compensation form.
Oh.
In a sense, what they are consulting on, who should be compensated? Should there be a minimum? Should there be a time limit? Should people who came here after 1973 qualify for compensation? All these questions, as you said, children who are second and third generation. So those are the questions. If people don't bother to answer, then they will come up with a scheme that we do not think is fair. I agree with you that you cannot put the thing completely right, but at the very least, some of the losses can be
recouped.
Exactly.
Yes. I'm just so disheartened. I didn't know that I would be so affected by this discussion today, because we're talking about MPs. But if MPs, how do you know that your MP is not going to do this to you?
Well, you have and I think as somebody who campaigns, I'll say it's partly because people are too apathetic.
Yes.
You need to care when people are standing for election. Go to the hustings, and hustings are kind of meetings, public meetings, so anybody can go to it.
Yes.
Where you question candidates.
I have been to one before.
Exactly, but not enough people turn up.
Yes, people don't turn up. I've been to one before when I lived in a different area that I live now.
Sure.
And I went to this hustings and I was watching this guy. It was a head-on collision. And, he was being asked questions.
Yes.
And he faltered a little bit.
But you
so
find
he
out
was
what
heckled.
they think.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to find out, and you need to know that much as I'm a Labour supporter, and I would advocate that in most circumstances people should vote Labour. But if Labour has selected a candidate who, when you hear the person on the hustings, does not support your values, is not somebody who you would trust to look out for you, for heaven's sake, exercise your vote in a judicious manner.
Indeed.
So that next time when they're selecting a candidate, they'll think properly. We need to all care about who the candidates are. We need to question our candidates. There is no 100% guarantee, but you at least will know who you're electing. So when you elect somebody, you have a certain expectations. But some people don't bother to think who is standing, and they just go and tick the ballot paper just on party lines, or sometimes they don't even bother to turn up at the polling station. And I think that in itself is outrageous. We have ourselves to blame for this situation.
We do, and we just have to keep talking, educating, cajoling,
and encouraging people,
so that people go and vote. They're voting in America, and it's important that people vote so that you change the status quo if it is uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Now, an American, there are two types of Americans, the black ones and the white ones. Now, the white ones, I'm not saying all of them, but they are in they feel that this is their space. And so even though they've come, displaced the Red Indians, the Indians, this people and that, this is their space and they're in it. Now, they feel that the black people are the infiltrators.
Well, the thing is, if people know their history, they'll know that
nobody is
an infiltrator. And people, if you are where you are there because that's where you are now. Whether or not they like it.
Yeah.
Well, let's come back to the UK. When people think that some people should not be here. I remember there was a writer who said, "We are here because you were there." We didn't ask you to go on adventures across the whole world. You did. You interfered.
Pillaged.
Well, fair enough. But the point is, you were in other parts of the world.
Yes.
You called it your empire. You had the white man's burden to go and liberate and educate and civilize. Well, as a result of your grandiose schemes, we are here. So we are here because we have every right to be. And you need to deal with the fact that we are here as citizens, we are here as residents, and we are entitled to certain courtesies.
Indeed.
So it is non-negotiable. And we as well need to have we need to remember that people fought for this right that we have to vote.
Indeed.
And therefore we need to get off from in front of the TV and go and vote. Or have a postal ballot. If you really can't be bothered to get up and go to the polling station, then ask for a postal ballot. You can sit in the comfort of your living room and vote. But be informed and vote for people so that you as a citizen, as a constituent, can hold your MP to account. Because he's there to represent you. And you can also make representations to your MP. And good MPs will represent their constituents.
That is true. This thing that you said about MPs. Anyway, so MPs usually support their party by voting, right?
Yes, because it is the easiest way to get elected is if you are a party person. Because the party machinery helps you. So yes, but you do not have to be part of a party to stand. I would say it's the easiest way to get elected. So MPs work for their party, they work for parliament, and they work for their constituents. So it's a balancing act. But if you choose the right MP, you will have somebody whose values you support. If you support the party they come from and the values that they put forward, then you're in a good place. You will be able to hold that MP to account because a political party sort of ensures that a certain number of MPs turn up.
Okay.
And therefore they're able to make inroads. But interestingly, you know, most people, if you are politically active, and we all should be, you do not hear that, okay, MPs betrayed us, as I would say. These are my words. You do something about it. So I'm very pleased to hear that Global Justice Now and Migrants Resource Center have come out with this pledge and have asked MPs to sign it. And the pledge is very simple. MPs, not border guards. But what is disappointing is that so far only 129 MPs have signed it. So again, what I would urge your listeners to do is that go online and Google MPs not border guards. Find out if your MP has signed the pledge. If your MP has not signed the pledge, write to them and ask them why not. Because basically the pledge is very simple. It says, as a member of parliament, I pledge to represent and advocate for all people living in my constituency as equal members of the local community, regardless of their immigration status. My constituency and surgery are safe places, and I welcome all my constituents to seek representation free from fear of immigration enforcement. I will not report on anyone who seeks my advice to the Home Office for Immigration Enforcement and will ensure my office correctly handles sensitive information to prevent this from happening. This, I would have thought, was normal. But because we've heard that some MPs did not abide by this organization has put forward this pledge and is asking MPs to sign it. So I would tell people, if you've got a problem, if your MP hasn't signed the pledge, don't take the risk of going to them. Go elsewhere. But ask your MP why they haven't signed this. But again, it is up to us to ensure that MPs realize that this is important to us, the residents, the voters, the constituents. So ask them.
I see.
129 out of 650. That is quite shocking.
It is a lot. It is quite a lot.
That they haven't signed.
And what is their reason for not signing?
The best way to find out is to ask your MP.
So you ask your MP, have you signed?
Yes. At the moment of the MPs who have signed, what is sad, 86 Labour MPs have signed, 26 SNP, 3 Plaid Cymru, 1 Green Party, she has signed, 2 independents, and only 1 Conservative. So there's a lot of questions to be asked of the majority party in Parliament. Why haven't you signed?
They're busy with Brexit.
Well, we are all busy with Brexit. Brexit affects everybody. There is no excuse not to do your duty as an MP just because there is an important matter.
Yeah.
Some of us are also concerned about the war in Yemen, that Britain is selling arms to Saudi Arabia that is bombing Yemen into smithereens. It's not because of that.
Children are
Exactly.
dying.
Not because I'm concerned about Yemen that I will not talk about immigration and the fact that MPs have been colluding with the Home Office when they should be defending their constituents and making representations on their behalf.
Do they make money out of this? It's like when they...
No.
Yeah, so why are they doing
No,
this?
I mean, to be fair, our MPs, I will vouch for our MPs. Most of them go into politics because they want to make a difference. And most of them are happy with whatever we generously as taxpayers are funding. So it is not because of money. Some of them actually, I think, wrongly believe that they're doing their duty to be reporting people. But I remind people that, I don't know if you've heard of the experiment. There was this experiment that was done. It's a psychological experiment. And it was done by somebody called Milgram. And he did it in 1963 and wrote it up again in 1974. Basically, he said people are fond of following orders. And he was inspired to do this because of the Holocaust trials. You know, after the Second World War, some people were put on trial.
Yeah.
And a lot of them said, oh, but we're following orders.
Yeah.
And most people were outraged and said, how can you let this happen when you knew people were suffering? So this experiment is a psychological experiment. You are asked to give people electric shocks. And you are told that it will help. It will help, and you're doing a good thing. And what they said, what is shocking, is that people actually complied with the order
And gave the people...
It was a false electric shock, a dud one. Had it been real, they'd have killed people. But people were quite happy. Oh, it's the law. I'm doing it. I'm going to help. So it's the same with our MPs. Those who thought they were doing the right thing to call immigration are just sort of following this. I'm following orders. They should have had the guts to say, look, I'm here to serve my constituents. And therefore, let me listen to this person's need and represent them. And that should be the right thing for an MP to do. You're amused.
I'm amazed. I am bemused. I am shocked. I will play some music and we'll come back and carry on, because this is just too much for my soul to bear. It is too much. I can't believe it.
You can't believe that people did it.
I can't believe it. I think people are kinder in this country than in America. I think people are more, and increasingly, I'm beginning to be...
They are different. It's just that you see, no, the wickedness in America, I think, is outrageous. You know, even when the police shoot people, you should listen to white people. They act like, oh, why did you resist? Why should the police be attacking you? You know, sometimes it's just, I don't know.
Can you hear it? Because I thought I was hearing some other radio music or something when we were talking.
So this is the pledge.
Oh, okay. West Norwood sign. I'm looking for my areas. Oh, David Lamy sign. You want it back? This bit of music. When music comes, I like this sound. Hey! Mini gospel. heard this song, the full song. Today, I have treated you all to this song. It is called Wara, and it's sung by a guy called KIKIS. KIKIS, what's his name? I can't find it. KIKIS sang it, and it is lovely.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
It was. Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, there is something going on with my microphone because I'm talking and I'm screaming, and yet the microphone is saying I'm not talking. I do not get it. But anyway, yes, we shall press on. Now, if you have a question, please, studio lines is 0203 735 8820. I'm ready for you. Nana will answer your problems. Now, about benefits. What, if you're having benefit problems, what does your MP do for you?
Well, your MP can write to the department in question. You know, especially if what the MP works from is correspondence.
Okay.
So it's no use going to the MP's office and saying, they said. You need to have the letters that have been sent to you and the letters you wrote or the form you filled in and then send it to your MP, and your MP will write on your behalf and try and get to the bottom of what is going on.
Okay.
Because the truth is that sometimes they make mistakes. And I don't know if you've watched the latest film by, his name escaped me, when it was all around the benefit question about somebody who had a heart attack. And he went to the benefits office. And he was a man of a certain age, didn't know how to use computers, and he insisted everything should be done by the computers.
Oh, God, I saw it.
You saw the film.
And so he was in arrears.
Everything fell on top of him.
Yeah.
And, you know, people, sometimes that's the problem. The system seems to conspire against people. Unfortunately, we have a government now that seems to believe that people choose to be on benefit. It's a lifestyle choice.
They don't want to work.
Exactly. So they will kick people off benefit, make life so uncomfortable. They seem to have forgotten that the welfare state came in because people saw how difficult it was when there was no income coming in and how families were suffering.
Yeah.
We have forgotten some of those lessons, that it is the benefit amount is not luxury. It is the minimum,
bare minimum,
that you have to live on.
Bare minimum.
And the fact that some people are scamming the system doesn't mean you should punish everybody else.
No.
What you do is you catch the scammers.
Yeah.
And trust me, there are people some people will complain they're living a very nice life. Thank you very much. Well, those people are not living on benefit. Benefit barely allows you to keep your head above water.
Yes.
So what I believe that we should be doing is saying that this new thing they're introducing, universal credit, is a joke.
It is a joke.
It is a joke, and all it's doing is pushing people into poverty.
You see, I feel that one of the problems with the universal credit is because you have to use a computer and because you are being made, it's like they're trying to push everything into the 21st century. What century are we in?
Yeah, we are in the 21st.
So they're trying to put everything, and
it's not quite that.
Yeah, but so that's
Do you
what
know
I'm
why
thinking.
they're doing this?
No.
Because unfortunately, they have made too many people redundant. The people who are left, they say they've got an office where 5 people used to do a job. They've got 2 people left, and they expect them to carry the workload of 5 people.
Indeed.
Well, that is not possible unless you push people onto technology. So it's not because they want to push us into the 21st century.
No.
I mean, trust me, the younger people use technology so normally. It's a question of time. Most people will start engaging with offices through their smartphones, through their computers. But people of a certain age still are not quite. They grew up with telegrams, for crying out loud. They grew up, no, honestly, when we used to count words. I mean, Twitter is something they come to with difficulty. But they grew up in a different age. And I think we owe them that respect to let them use the means by which they want to communicate. And in time, the population will be people who use technology. But the reason they are doing it is not because they want to be in the 21st century. It's because they've made too many cuts. Austerity has been foolish. They've cut to the bone. And they've forgotten that actually you need people. Machines can't do everything. You need people in the offices, and you can't make everybody redundant and say you're cutting waste. Sometimes people need somebody to talk to. You know, machines are very clinical. You know, garbage in, garbage out. What you put in is what they can. A person can understand complexities.
Indeed.
In a way a computer cannot.
No. So, having said all of that about benefits and the new system, what about child maintenance? If you have a child and you're going through, because a lot of people have children and they may be going through all sorts of problems getting the child even into schools in their area, child maintenance, money, the breakfast club, lunch. You know, you don't work, so you're on benefit. The money is little. You have 4 kids, you know, so on, uniforms, etc. Can you go to your MP about this as well?
Well, some of the things you've mentioned are best handled by your local councillor.
Okay.
You know, your local councillor deals with local issues. You know, schools, until, well, this government took a lot of them out of local authority control, are controlled by the local authority. But even though they're not directly under local authority control, the welfare of your child is. So social services, all those services are run by your local council. So in the first instance, I would say go to your local councillor. There again, you can find them through Google if you don't happen to know which ward you live in.
I think there's something called the Child Maintenance Service, CMS.
Yeah, but that is to do with people who are separated from partners.
Okay.
We're talking about at the very basic.
Yes,
You're looking
uniform,
for support.
yeah, support.
So your first port of call is your counsellor.
Okay.
If you can't navigate the system, they will help you with what the council can help you with.
Okay.
If, on the other hand, you go and apply for certain things and you're told that actually your former husband or your ex-partner or the father of the child should be paying, yes, they'll expect you to apply for that maintenance.
Okay.
But as everybody knows, especially with these things, it is like pulling water out of stone.
Yeah.
The child has to eat whether or not the man has paid maintenance.
Exactly.
And therefore the system, in theory, is there to support you.
Okay.
And therefore, you go to your counsellor and make sure you're supported. There are things like free school meals. You need to make sure you apply for it. Some of it might seem embarrassing, but I think you need to get beyond that. Unfortunately,
Beyond the embarrassment. You mean?
absolutely.
Okay.
Because it is, and yes, some people are nasty about these things. Oh, you're on benefit. At the end of the day, you're on benefit because you need help from the community.
Yeah.
We in Africa, we say it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
So the whole village should be responsible for helping you bring up that child. That child who might end up being a doctor, a nurse, an accountant, who will also contribute to society.
An ambulance driver.
An ambulance
Save your
driver,
life.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we owe it to our children, the next generation, to help them grow up in safe and, you know, in a safe environment. And that includes having enough food to eat, having the right clothes to wear. And to be honest with you, school uniforms, they used to be that you used to get school vouchers. With all the cuts and austerity, a lot of these things are gone. But you need to also have the courage to go up forward for help. You can go to your GP even, and they can refer you to a food bank, and you can get vouchers. Some MPs might be in the loop and might be able to direct you to the food bank as well. Yeah, because unfortunately, use of food banks has gone through the roof. And I wish this government would wake up and see that they are causing a lot of damage.
There is so much austerity. And yet they say, oh, the austerity is gone down. And these people are sitting in nice cars, living in beautiful houses and doing nice things. And the rest of us are suffering.
Well, in a sense, what I would say in defense of conservatives, and I hate to defend conservatives, but I will defend them in this instance, it's also because the people chose to vote for them. And if you vote for them...
Oh, ouch.
No, you vote for them, you get the policies that they are promoting.
Ouch.
They were very clear that they were promoting austerity. And unfortunately, the people voted for them, and we've got austerity coming out of our ears. So I would urge people, this is the time to now reevaluate the way you think, because unfortunately, too many people were jealous of the so-called scroungers and voted for austerity. They forgot that the people they were calling scroungers were people who were actually struggling.
Yes.
People who were working hard. If nurses and policemen have to go to food banks, that should tell you something.
It should tell you something, people.
It should tell you something, that there is something outrageous going on.
Which moves us into employment, because
Yes.
if you are facing employment problems,
Yes.
should you be seeing your MP?
Well, with all the cuts that our dear Conservatives have made, no, it's a fact, they've made cuts in legal aid.
Yeah.
I would say that for me, if you're employed, the first thing you should do is belong to a union.
Okay.
So your first port of call should be your union, and try and get help from your union. If you cannot get help there, your MP really is somebody you should be able to go to with problems you're having. But note that the MP is looking after a huge constituency.
Yeah.
So take problems to the MP when you've tried to resolve it by other means.
Okay.
But the MP can reach areas you cannot reach.
So you're saying use your MP as the last resort.
I would say, but not too last the resort.
Yeah, but
go to your MP in good time when the MP can do something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, use the other avenues that are open to you,
Okay.
like your union.
yeah.
You know, your union can talk to your employers. If your employers are being intransigent and your union doesn't think you have a case, then go to your MP, because there's some things that are morally wrong. They might not be legal, but they're morally wrong, and maybe having an MP writing might change the way your organization is behaving.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if you are chasing documentation or a decision from the Department of Works and Housing, say,
Yes.
or you need some help with something, the Home Office, or even the Employment Office, should you be seeing your MP? Is it the right person?
I would say yes, because if you have tried everything, you have exhausted the you've exhausted everything. And the film I was thinking of was I, Daniel Blake.
Oh, okay.
And you've come to the end of the road where you meet this intransigent people who says the decision maker says no. I would approach the MP and put your case before the MP. The MP can cut through red tape, can write to the top and ask questions. And when decisions that are, there are unintended consequences of so-called decisions that people dream up in the ivory towers. Your MP would ask the right questions that might shake the system.
Because your MP already knows the system and he knows the law. So he can ask pertinent questions relating to your question to the law. I get it.
And also remember, when laws are going through Parliament, you have things like select committees where they're discussed.
Yeah.
So you'll find that the MPs might have asked certain questions, or might have already said, this law you're bringing in will have this consequence.
Yeah.
It's like I said the last time I was on your program, when the 2014 Immigration Act was going through Parliament, some people raised alarm bells and said, this thing you're doing, it will lead to problems. But again, like I said, only 6 Labour MPs voted against it. And I need to commend them, because it was Jeremy Corbyn, Diane Abbott, John McDonnell, Fiona McTaggart, Dennis Skinner, and an MP whose name, I apologize to him, I can never pronounce his name, so I won't attempt it. But these 6 were amongst other MPs, including the SNP and some Lib Dems, who voted against it. Where were the others? We shouldn't have this scandal.
Apathetic, and they thought that. You see, when immigration laws, and I'm a very lay person, I'm not into, but you're the one who has the information. But to me, I kind of feel that people are carried on the crest of a wave, especially when it is immigration and you're thinking of the others.
Thank you. And too many of our people in our community, people from the Commonwealth, felt that it applied to other people, not them.
I remember saying to people, even on this radio station, beware. Stop thinking about the Eastern Europeans. Think about yourself, because it will happen to you.
And people should always go with justice. If something is right, support it. If something is wrong, even if it's not you or your family, oppose it. Too many people were happy with the whole immigration, debate, and were happy and voted for people who promised to do something about it. We have this problem because Cameron promised, I will reduce immigration to single figures. It was stupid. Who is going to pick the vegetables in the fields? who is working in our hospitals? It is immigrants.
Who is cleaning the offices, the toilets?
And who is cleaning our hospitals? Who are doing all these jobs
that you don't want to do?
And which is keeping the country going?
Who is doing the photocopying, getting up from their beds and going into offices and being maltreated and downtrodden because the rest of them are
Who are the doctors in the NHS?
Yes, who?
And in a way, maybe we should also have the other argument that actually the brain drain is also a problem for our countries of origin.
Yeah, well,
they train people, and this country, instead of training its own, poaches people. So maybe that's another discussion. But having said that, when people are here, they deserve to be treated properly. And this idea that you can go reporting people because of their immigration status, if you notice, this government brought in that people, when they're looking for accommodation, the landlord has a duty to question.
Yeah, and check your passport and see whether you're British.
But we allowed it to go through. We should have been saying this is outrageous. A landlord is not a border guard.
You know what? I can safely say that it's not that we let it go through, but some of these laws are voted in, by the people. It's not by the people, it's for the people. They make these decisions.
I don't buy that excuse.
No, because sometimes you don't hear it. And then it's happened.
Heard it. Too many people, I'll say that in the debates, too many people were happy about it. Too many people were thinking it will happen to the other. Now that it's happening to their grandmothers, their nieces, their nephews, now they think it's outrageous. I have to commend teachers because teachers were asked to also police who was coming into schools.
Yeah.
Imagine asking children whether your parents are legal. Outrageous.
Yeah.
But the teaching profession through their unions stood up against it. So they stopped implementing that. Why didn't the others do the same? The NHS happily implemented it. You wouldn't have had the scandal of somebody being refused cancer treatment because of their immigration status. If the NHS had said, I'm sorry, we've taken an oath to protect people, to cause no harm, we will not be border guards. I'm thinking that this rush to be obedient, to do the wrong thing, is because too many people supported it. Just as right now, when we look back at Hitler's Germany, we blame the people. Why did you let this happen? Too many people were happy to be part of it. And I can quote from Zinn again. You know what he said?
No.
Our problem is that people are obedient all over the world in the face of poverty and starvation and stupidity and war and cruelty. Our problem is that people are obedient while the jails are full of petty thieves. Indeed. And the grand thieves are running the country.
And it's the same in Africa.
That's what he said all over it's not mostly in Africa, it's here as well.
It's all over the world.
It's all over the world. People need to resist bad laws and not always think, it doesn't mean me, it's happening to somebody else. I remember an organization called Barak. It's called Black Activists Rising Against the Cuts. They started protesting in 2010, saying this is 2014, this thing is going to cause havoc. A lot of people couldn't care less. It didn't affect me. Too many of us didn't care. So we are also to blame. I do blame the government for bringing it in.
Yeah.
But too many of us supported by our silence and our collusion.
I can tell you that from where I'm standing, I can see that we leave things, or especially it's the whole obedience thing. We leave things, people bring out things. We don't think deeply about the repercussions and how it's going to affect. And then we allow people to maltreat us. And then at the last point is when we start to complain, but it's a bit too late. And, the damage...
It's never too late.
The damage...
I agree that sometimes damage is caused, but it is never too late to protest. So if we've been complacent, we've been quiet, I mean, we're talking about MPs.
Yeah.
MPs will do what they feel the people want because they need your vote.
Yeah.
So one of the things that MPs are there for is that they are there to act in accordance with public trust.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that they act in accordance to what we want.
We've got to go. We've got 34 seconds. And to the people on the radio, thank you so much for listening. The people on Facebook and Instagram and all of that, you can stay on for 5 more minutes. But the rest of us, to the radio folk, we're about to say good night. We have a few more seconds, and then I wish you well, be well. I wish you good luck, because terrible days are coming. Bye.
Good night.
Now you can talk. You can carry on what you were saying.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that we need to hold our MPs to account.
Okay.
We need to care enough about what they're doing so that we make sure that they act in our best interests. MPs will listen. They're waiting for constituents to get in touch with them. But be safe. Check out Global Justice Now. MPs, not border guards. Make sure your MP has signed the pledge. Don't take a risk.
Don't take a risk. It's a difficult thing. With this discussion, we didn't finish it. So we have to come back to it, because I need to ask more questions about what the MPs are doing. And then in the middle of it, we're going to find out all of the naughty things that they get up to as well. Now, it looks like, according to Nana, we ourselves must take the mantle of protecting ourselves. We must, the responsibility and onus is on us to look after ourselves. We have to think about the children that we've got that are living the life after we're not here. And it is very important that we challenge or even pay attention to the laws that are coming up. People, I love you in different ways, in all of you in different, places, different points, everything is different. I want to thank you so much, Nana, for coming and feeding us with this powerful feed of food of political questions. We're going to ask some more every second Wednesday of every month. Nana will be here with her political information to educate. You can ask her questions if you're not sure of something. This is the first one, so I can see that I had a lot of listeners on Facebook, but everyone was silent. And I mean, of course, they made noises. I've got Norma who said, thank you, Nana Asante. I've got Deanne Boswell who said, thank you, Nana.
Well, thank you to them as well.
T. Maggie is watching. Tina Brown, Veronica, hello, Vero. My cousin Hetty is watching. Yeah, my sweetie is watching. Marina, my darling. So many people are watching. Okay. And they didn't say anything. But I'm sure when they start getting used to this program, this particular political question program, they will start to talk. Because that's how it is. Sometimes you need to see, it built up. So, people watch now. Kanedu is there. Everyone's there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in. It is just so important that we take responsibility for ourselves and our children wherever we are. And if you are here in the diaspora, you're in the UK, this is your country, people. This is your country.
Thank you.
Love you all. Somebody just said, we just wanted to hear.
Okay.
It's coming back on now.